Welcome to Metaphysical. Have you ever wondered why everyone is fascinated by pyramids? Pyramid symbolism, the scientific and spiritual side of pyramids, pyramids in nature, art, and pop culture, not to mention structures like the Great Pyramid of Giza, have fascinated people for millennia. Want to hear the deeper side of this strange geometry that nobody has really dived into? Well, join remote viewer John Vivanco and me, investigative researcher Rob Counts, for a show that's out of this world.
Hey, I got my pyramid.
Oh, hey, whoa, there you go. Yeah, it's a nice paperweight.
No, actually, what's really funny about this is that Heather actually has a patent on this. Not a patent, but a patent pending. And it actually comes with a stick, and it's for man buns hair. And women buns for your hair.
Hey.
So it's like you can wear a pyramid on your head without it looking absolutely, totally like outlandishly ridiculous.
Wow. And it probably gives you a lot of weird energy, as we're going to discuss in this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Pyramids are fascinating.
They really are.
They're incredible.
And it's actually a wonder that no one has really studied them, or have they?
They have.
Yes.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, this is a technology that I know is endemic, not just in the past of Earth, but elsewhere. This is a technology.
Totally is.
Yeah. I mean, well, we'll get into it later. But I got obsessed with pyramids years ago because, my friend Jameson had come over. Jameson,
yeah,
guy, right?
Yeah.
He actually, funny story about Jameson. That whole meme, sweaty towel guy meme, is actually him, and he didn't even know it. So he's an illustrator. He's done illustrations for Edge of Wonder, right? He's done illustrations for me. So I kept coming across that meme, sweaty towel guy. And I'm like, gosh, that looks familiar. And then I realized, oh man, there it is. That's actually a self-portrait of Jameson.
Jameson's illustration of Jameson.
He had to do this thing for Men's Health magazine. And he didn't even know that people were using it as this meme until like just a couple months ago.
That's great.
Anyway, Jameson had come over and spent a couple of weeks with me, and we just were experimenting with pyramids constantly, trying to understand, because he's sensitive to energies, I'm sensitive to energies, and trying to understand just the basic construct of the pyramid, what that does to a body, what that does to the mind. So we're building pyramids like mad, from wood pyramids, plastic pyramids, paper pyramids, you name it. And we didn't find any difference in feeling based on the material. But we did find a difference in feeling if it wasn't aligned correctly to north, right? Oh. Yeah, exactly. So there is power, the absolute power in pyramids. Ancient cultures knew this. Other beings across the universe know this. Except right now on this planet, what are we doing? I mean, we're using gas-powered things. We're using non-renewable resources when we can shift over to these types of things that accumulate a certain specific type of energy and use that. So, or
even just energy that's using existing energy that's already being produced and around us all the time.
Right. That's what it is.
It's from the ionosphere, from the atmosphere, whatever.
Exactly. There's so many different ways, not just the pyramid. There's so many different ways.
Well, and before we even get into more of that, pyramids are used in so many different ways. I mean, we're looking at both 2D and 3D pyramids for different things. And I think like sacred geometry is constantly using pyramids. Just, aesthetically looking, it's very nice as well, right? Yeah. There is like this idea of that there is this connection with the divine somehow. Meditating inside of a pyramid can bring benefits, right? But then we've got this, why is the pyramid on the dollar? Why is it used in pop culture so much? What's the eye at the top of the pyramid that they're constantly showing us, right? You know, like, hey, and there's Heather's design there with a really tiny miniature guy meditating inside of it.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and you know, even at a SETI, like they have a pyramid house that they do work in and different things, and you know, it's always been like this thing in the back of my head. Like, I'd really like to have a pyramid in the backyard or something that I can go meditate in.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be cool, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have a 5-foot pyramid that I will meditate in.
Really?
And you can feel an energy in there. So the energy seems to be like around 1/3, most of the energy, 1/3 inside from the top, right? Like in that 1/3 zone down.
At the bottom or from the top?
From the top into the pyramid,
yeah,
there's like this ball of energy about 1/3 the way down.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I've noticed. And as it goes down and out, it tends to weaken a bit. And you know, one of the things I found too is that, you know, you were talking about 2D pyramids. I found that it's the same effect. Like even if it's a printed pyramid, you still have the same effect. It still has some energy to it.
Very interesting.
I don't know why. I don't know how.
Well, I mean, I mean, it does make sense. I mean, you know, like, why are these kind of like magicians and stuff, or like people that are into symbols and posting symbols and, you know, kind of low level alchemy, witchcraft kind of stuff, like the importance of these things to them, there's great importance in them, like these little strange things, and so there's meaning behind them, right? That's what that means. Right. So it would make sense then that the pyramid in 2D form also, you know,
it could be, right? It literally could be that influence of meaning behind it, symbols. I mean, it's crazy. Like you look at clothing in general, and some of the clothing has these like negative symbols on it, and you know, like devil type symbols or whatever. And I really, really have to wonder what that is, what that means, and what that does to an individual who's attracted into that or buys that. They don't know the power of symbols that they're putting on themselves.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like there's some way of trapping something in some of those. Like, honestly, I think the pentagram is used to trap a lot of things.
Right.
Or entities or energy or whatever it is. And it's like, we just have no understanding of that. And also, I'm not sure if it benefits people to have a great understanding of that. Because I mean, if you look at this stuff, they're kind of manipulating the world around us in a way, right? And the manipulation is based usually off of human beings having a lot of self-interest, and they want to obtain something. So they're trying to like generate an outcome from doing certain things, like certain rituals, certain posting of certain things. And I think, you know, I don't think that's what it's meant for. Like it certainly wasn't created for, you know, you to have a good time or to screw someone over.
Right.
You know,
right.
like,
you know, like the pyramid with the eye. Yeah. That whole construct. I mean, that's used extensively now by, you know, the powers that be, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
You know, why is that?
Why?
Right.
Well, and I think, you know, they've really hijacked this thing.
They have hijacked it.
Yeah, and you know, it depends on what research you look at, but there are some people that have done research. You know how one of the pyramids in Giza has that on the top of the pyramid, there is almost this like layer of extra.
Yeah, wasn't that the casing, the limestone casing?
Is like a capstone.
Well, yeah, actually the capstone's gone now.
Yeah. Well, yes, but or, you know, we don't, like, some of it is still there, at least on the on the biggest one. And I mean, I've heard that it used to be there it is. It used to be covered in gold. You know, like there's just different things that I heard, but you know, why? Like there's so like this is obviously, why go through the trouble of building something this megalithic if it wasn't going to do something for you?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think, I mean, at least I've heard from multiple sources is that there was a white limestone casing on it. So they could have covered that with gold too. But can you imagine back in the day, these pyramids just glowing bright white? I mean, absolutely incredible. Not just that. I mean, because they produce energy themselves, they're going to have a extra added glow to these things. I mean, that must have been an incredible sight.
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, seeing that in the distance,
Yeah.
it's crazier than any, skyscraper they've built by far.
Oh yeah.
I
know.
But yeah, like this pyramids was seemingly kind of co-opted, by some of these societies, I guess you could say, and they'll get bizarre understandings of it that we're not sure of,
Well, what's interesting, actually? Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's like they seem to be seeking power with it, money or influence.
Well, DARPA even uses the pyramid with the eye symbol in it, right? DARPA's logo is that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. So
why though? It's like a lot of those military symbols I'm often looking at and I'm like, why? Like, what's even the history? Like, it's just bizarre.
All right, so check this out. So have you ever heard of the Sky Stone? The Sky Stone was they're these blue stones, these blue rocks that were only found in one area in Africa, and people had heard about this, and one person was trying to find it, and they had to go out to these local villagers and talk to local villagers. I think in Sierra Leone, dangerous place, and so asked the head chieftain, and he said, yeah, it's over here. It's in the ground over here. And they've got all these legends about it, right? They've got all these legends about this blue stone. So the guy took some samples of the stone, had it tested, and it's unlike anything on Earth. Unlike anything on Earth through the GIS, they tested it. So this stone, interesting. So we remote viewed, where this came from, right? This isn't a natural thing, or is it something else?
Like a meteor or...
Yeah, in remote viewing, remote viewing is this process of gaining non-local information using a team of people who are very well adept in getting this information. So, and they're all blind. They don't know what they're viewing. So we had them view, what's the origination of this? Where did it come from? And experienced remote viewers, they'll describe a geologic process or something akin to that. Nothing of the sort. Every single remote viewer went into this incredibly epic story about how there was a time between the changing of the ages here on Earth. And they were explaining that during the changing of the ages, I mean, they even said this. They said there's a harvesting that occurs. And in this harvesting, God or source or very high energies come in to begin to collect those beings that are ready to move on from this realm. Okay, this is the data, right?
Right.
So what they described was this pyramid shape that was a craft. It was a big pyramid shape that flew like this. That was a craft, and it had the eye of God in it. So this thing moved across the land, the earth. People would see. It's kind of like the whole story of Atlantis too, right? Where the people of Atlantis, this source energy came forward in order to tell them what they were doing wrong, and if they didn't do it right, they would be destroyed, right? And so some people heard it and some people didn't. But in the data, this blue craft with this eye on it or in it was like the eye of God. And this thing was moving across the land, reminding people that they can let go into source energy, and I guess you could say ascend, right? So interestingly enough, the local tribes people in Sierra Leone, Africa, they say that this craft was an evil craft, that it was a bad craft, and the
Planet X
reptile people,
no way,
they have statues of these reptile people, shot it down. and the reptile people are something that they revere. You can see the Nomoni tribe or Nomoni.
Wait a minute.
Tribe.
So okay, the craft is an evil craft.
It's not an evil craft.
Oh wait,
because the native people had said that the good guys shot it down, and their sculptures of the good guys are reptilians. It's a really wild story, man. And our remote viewing data is even more wild. So my speculation is that these, okay, now here's another thing. So you can buy a piece of the sky stone. They're very expensive. There's only one person that sells it because they have control over it. After I did a video on Edge of Wonder, that one part of it dealt with the story of the sky stone. You can watch that on Rise TV.
Do you know what the name of that episode was? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
We'll have Lindsay. We'll have Lindsay find it for us.
Something about alien crashes. Something about that.
Okay.
Crashes of the aliens, I think. So what happened after I put that video out was there were a couple of people that I won't name that are high powered that came in and tried to buy all of the sky stones from the sky. Give it, basically saying, I'll give you millions of dollars for all of these. And these people, you'd be surprised at who they were because they're connected. So DARPA, interestingly enough, I believe that they want to recreate it. They want to understand what it is, the material, recreate whatever it is to a degree, stuff that they can use. I believe that the dollar bill, the original pyramid with the eye in it, is a symbol really of ascension when you get right down to it. And I think that these powers that be have co-opted this to try to change the energy of it, just like those reptilians that the tribe had revered, who said they shot it down, did to them, right? I think that there is this whole need to co-opt those things that are of a higher order, of a higher realm. And it's a theory that I have because the data was just so bizarre on this stuff, and all the viewers are drawing this thing as a ship with pyramid style ship with an eye in it.
So wait a minute, are these sky stones pieces of the downed craft?
They are pieces of the downed craft.
No way.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, that's where I kind of go with it. Obviously, I don't know 100% for sure, but there is something behind this. There is truly something bizarre and strange behind it. And that to me, like, this is a very old story coming from this tribe. Very, very old. So this happened a very long time ago. So somehow somebody knew what the representation of that pyramid and eye meant, and possibly related to that. Because in the data, we really got that it was a situation, a craft, a multidimensional craft that was connected to source, not just on the 3D side, but was a portal in a sense to harvest the ones that were ready to leave this planet, this plane of existence. Right. So there was nothing negative about it at all. But it was just so interesting how these reptile beings that this tribe revered, and they've got statues up, told them that it was evil, right? Evil. And we blew it up. We got rid of it for you. It's all okay now. And then we just like devolve into this new darker age.
Wow. That's weird.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of different cultures that have, isn't it funny that, what is it, that movie Stargate? I think Lindsay pulled up that image from that movie where it was like a UFO ship basically shaped like a pyramid. And that this is like what they were kind of saying is that the Egyptian pharaohs had arrived on a ship like this, and they were actually alien beings and stuff, which again, we've talked about this on our show. If you look at Akhenaten, actually, probably, maybe that's not very far off. That guy was so weird.
Right. Well, also go into certain really old paintings, religious paintings. And in some text, God is described as having a triangle head. Have you come across that?
I've seen
There are
images of
paintings of
beings.
God sitting on a throne with a triangle head.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen, illustrations of aliens, and so here's Akhenaten. You guys at home, if you're watching and not listening, we're showing a picture of Akhenaten's statue, and it's very stylized and quite honestly alien looking, especially for the art at that time in Egypt. It's bizarre and it doesn't fit in. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Mysterious triangle-shaped alien skull found in Peru. And I think the triangle actually is coming from the skull being massive and the chin being small.
Right.
But what were these things, right? Like the bottom really looks very similar to a human face with the eyes being much larger. The sockets for the eyes.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, if that's not a fake, that's incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
right. Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean,
Right, and I think they co-opt it. I think they co-opt the symbol.
Well, but why though? So do they have access to some history that we don't have, and that's why they're constantly showing it? I mean,
I guess you could surmise that. I mean, nobody knows for sure, but I think that they try to take. I think that they understand power through symbols.
Yeah.
And they try to take that for their own use.
Well, and the power makes sense because, if we're talking about a pyramid, at the very top is the most powerful place on the pyramid, right? Because you're working your way up to become the top. To climb the top of the pyramid.
Right.
But what's weird is that, and what I really want to try to understand is what is the pyramid's purpose? Because we've got, if we look at Egypt and you really study the Sphinx, the pyramids, and the water erosion on the pyramids. Those pyramids, in my best understanding from my research, were under the water. They, for a long time, we don't know how long, and then they rose above the water. The Egyptians found them, I think, and then made use of them to put their mummies in there.
Yeah.
And to kind of I think preserve the bodies in there, almost like a tomb. But if they found those pyramids and the pyramids were left over from an earlier age, if that's true, which I personally do think it is true, what were the pyramids actually being used for? And what's weird, John, is that we found this article here of scientists actually using pyramid shapes in the microcosm, I guess you could say, atomically, to create unique magnetic fields.
Oh, wow.
That only exist with the pyramid shape. That don't exist if you just have a flat shape.
Right.
And so here, Lindsay's going to pull this up. So now old silicon learns new tricks, atomically architected silicon pyramids with unusual magnetic properties. And you see this image to the left there. When the silicon is set up like this on the atomic level, these little tiny pyramids, it generates a rectangular magnetic field that you can only get by using these specific shapes with the silicon at an atomic level.
Right.
Okay. So what's really bizarre is not only why did they try this? Are they getting this information from somewhere else? But the implications of this in the real world, you have thousands of these tiny pyramids that are doing something at the atomic level. What does one gigantic pyramid do on Earth?
Right.
And how does it affect the magnetic field? What is it pulling in? What is the purpose of the pyramid? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay, so this reminds me a little bit of the cavity structural effect that Viktor Grebennikov had noticed. So he was an entomologist I think he died in the 1980s or something. Russian entomologist who studied, bugs in Siberia, basically.
Right.
And he found that there was this specific type of beetle that was out in the middle of Siberia. It would take off from the ground at full speed, which is not something that happens. This is an impossibility, but it's full speed taking off. No, that doesn't happen. So he started to investigate this bug. So he pulled the chitin, which is the carpus, the covering over the wings, the hard carp, and he noticed underneath that there were these very intricate design patterns, like indented pyramids, like gazillions of them on a microscopic level. So he, outside of that, began to notice that there is a structural effect of shapes like honeycombs. For instance, he fell asleep under a wasp's nest out in the Siberian outback, and he woke up with a blazing headache. So he started to experiment with these shapes that come out of nature. One of the big claims that he made was that the chitin from the beetles is a form of anti-gravity. So what he did is crazy. He got loads of beetle chitin. He got a board. He glued them all to the underside of the board.
This guy's a mad scientist.
He's a mad scientist. He put level or blinds underneath it so he could open it and close it or shift it for turning. He put a handlebar on it, and he claims that he flew around and flies around.
Dude invented the hoverboard. Where's my hoverboard, John? I want my hoverboard.
Exactly.
Pyramids are the key to the hoverboard.
Okay, so now the crazier part of all of this is that we have remote viewed this extensively to understand exactly.
Okay. And he did this. Did you remote view whether he did it? And he did it.
He did it. He did it. Yeah. So this structural effect, CSE, that you just showed me, absolutely, yes, this is a thing.
Dude, this is blowing my mind right now.
And now think of Joe Parr's experiments, who was an electrical engineer who developed the gamma ray transducer. So Joe Parr
did he turn into the Incredible Hulk?
I know, you would think so, right?
He should have.
So this guy was one of only a couple people to be able to spend the couple nights on top of the Giza pyramid, where he was taking measurements and trying to understand. He was very obsessed with pyramids, brilliant guy, inventor. So what he did ultimately, and he did this for years, this experiment where he got a centrifuge and he lined the inside of the centrifuge with neodymium magnets. And then he had a pyramid in the middle, and he would spin this centrifuge and he would take measurements. Yeah, there's Joe Parr. It's like the only photo of him, and it's just like, what the heck? It's a
great jacket.
Yeah. So what he found in the experiment was that when you have this pyramid spinning within a electromagnetic field, a varying electromagnetic field, it creates an orb around it, a bubble that is a measurable bubble. And inside of the pyramid are what he called mass particles, right? So a bunch of times at specific times of the year, he claimed that the pyramid would literally lose all its weight, become not affected by gravity, and then it would disappear and then reappear embedded into the wall of his house. So
Philadelphia experiment was done basically by a pyramid that he had built.
Right. So he surmised that it was moving into hyperspace. It was losing gravity, moving into hyperspace, and then coming back once it exited the bubble that it had created, right? Okay. And then embedding in his wall. So his experiments are really fascinating on that front, because when we remote viewed, when it's losing gravity, and we had remote viewed Edward Leeds Scalman of Coral Castle. He built Coral Castle. Nobody knows how he arranged those rocks, those large pieces of coral into place in Florida. What we got in the data was him. He had this post that had this spinning pyramid on it with magnets around it,
Hmm.
which referred back to the Joe Parr experiments and the curiosity about how pyramids can literally obliterate gravity or create a situation where you can maneuver very large things or just erase gravity in general. So they produce something. There are weird like experiments that scientists have done, but you don't hear about them because
How could you? I mean, a pyramid taking off and hovering and becoming weightless or transferring into, obviously,
into
the
hyperspace.
Giza pyramid hasn't done that for whatever reason, but
Well, it's a different construct.
different construct completely.
Construct, right?
Yeah,
it's for a different purpose.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
So okay, so now we've got the idea that the pyramidal shape in certain circumstances could actually revise I mean gravity. It defies
Absolutely.
gravity. And that's just the start. I mean, these pyramids in Giza were thought to have been like nuclear power plants back in the day, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And what's strange is, depending on whose research you look at, one of the strangest questions I've heard is if it's not a piece of technology, why were there no fire marks on any of the stones that they would have lit torches in to get in and out? Because there was no light in there. So they had to have been using some type of electricity to light the inside of these pyramids.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? I mean, well, here, if you want to know what the pyramids are or begin to understand, the proper path to take is not through Egyptologists and Egyptology.
I don't think any proper path to take is ever through them.
It's not, right?
Yeah.
It's just not. But that's what takes over our planet as far as explanations go. Who you want to listen to on this are structural engineers and architects, because they don't have skin in the game here of trying to get government money for research and whatever. They don't have skin in the game. These guys with the pyramids are confounded. And the idea, the thought, or what Egyptologists tell us is that these pyramids were created with copper chisels and stone hammers in 20 years.
Right.
In 20 copper chisels and stone hammers. No, it's impossible. When you get to what these engineers say, architects say, no, that's impossible. We can't even build this. We cannot build those today. We can't get those tolerances where a razor blade can't fit through. We just can't. So no, this is, it's actually an insult to intelligence that Egyptology puts that idea forward.
Yeah.
It's really what it is, because people are gaslit like mad. And when you gaslight a person over a certain number of years, they begin to just accept it, right? So you have to get a new resource in order to help you understand what they are. And those would be people with no skin in the game. And I'm not talking, people who are, self-described archaeologists. I'm talking about people who are structural engineers.
I was going to say why are we listening to archaeologists who really are digging into artifacts in the history of Egypt to tell us what a pyramid actually does? Like, shouldn't we get the proper experts in there?
Yeah. But, we can't do that because this goes back before the Egyptians that we have today were there, right?
Yeah, I believe that technology is Atlantean.
Exactly.
Personally.
Right.
I mean, it could even be pre-Atlantis. I don't know.
It's even older than that.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because we've seen this when we remote view other planets. I mean, Mars has pyramids, and the CIA had even sent remote viewers to Mars in declassified documents, right? There are some documents, right? It's like
yeah, we've covered it.
And they've described pyramids, right? There are pyramids on Mars. There are pyramids on every planet that mammals migrate to. Every planet that we have seen, because mammals make this great migration across the universe. And what is known is that you can use Earth energies with this specific shape to create civilizations. This is how civilization is created.
Like, so the pyramids are put there to facilitate
whatever you need it for.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is my opinion.
Yeah, we're sure. I mean, we're
yeah.
trying to figure this out, right? Like, we can't say anything conclusive because there's like, even we've just touched on this, and there's already like so many potential explanations and uses for that shape.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't homes built in that shape if they're so like helpful?
Well,
like,
I've heard that that it's not one of those things that you want to spend all your time in because of the amount of energy that it can create.
Oh.
I don't know. Actually, there is a guy in Illinois who built.
Whoa, look at that.
He built his house as a pyramid, a very large pyramid. So I think there's actually a documentary on this person. In Illinois, he built his home as a large pyramid to try to recreate the Great Pyramid. And what he claimed was that after he built it, water started to magically, like, there it is, pull up from the ground. And it started to flood the area. So he had to create this moat around it. So it's his thought that the pyramid opened up these channels of water to come to the surface.
It brought water in.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of crazy, right?
Whoa. Like an additional use that you never would have been able to.
Right.
Like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
But health wise, how is this guy? Is he being affected? Is there more radiation or anything, or is it just like fine?
Well, he's deceased now, so his family.
So it didn't work out for him.
I think it's a restaurant now.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Owners may demolish and rebuild bigger and better gold pyramid house after museum home suffers $3 million in fire and water damage. Okay.
Oh man, maybe it's cursed.
Hopefully not.
Oh geez, look at that pyramid on fire. That's not something you see. A pyramid on fire is not something you see.
That's true.
Oh man, that's sad. That's too bad.
I'm sure they fixed it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so also, like, I mean,
wow.
So electromagnetic field distributions inside the Great Pyramid. So that we looked at some of that, and Nikola Tesla was actually kind of low-key obsessed with pyramids. Yeah,
he was, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was, and I mean, we know him. I mean, so here's a Big Think article about why Nikola Tesla was obsessed with the Egyptian pyramids. And the bulleted points here are: Nikola Tesla had numerous unusual obsessions. One of his beliefs was that the Great Pyramids of Egypt were giant transmitters of energy. He built Tesla towers according to laws inspired by studying the pyramids. And,
yeah, I mean, he was a brilliant mind. And he was very interested in the notion of free energy, alternative energy sources. I had come across this one, I think it was like a 14 video series on YouTube where this guy basically showed you how to build a pyramid and connect wiring to it and connect it into an electrical appliance and use the pyramid to run that electrical appliance.
No way.
Yeah. They generate energy. They absolutely do. And Tesla knew this. And you could do it at home, kids.
Oh, yeah. They don't want you knowing that.
No, they don't.
That's kind of what I mean, though. It's like, why aren't houses built that way? Because if the house is built like that properly, it's a conduit for the energy, and the energy can just run the house, right?
Or like next to our house, we have this other little pyramid power plant. You know, we
Yeah.
just have this, like, we build a little pyramid power plant next to our house and run the wiring in, and there you go. Like,
Done.
that's it. I mean, it's like solar
Yeah,
power, but it's a pyramid.
and then it'll bring in the water for the well that, you know,
Right,
you bring out of
exactly.
the
Well
ground.
said.
So like
Yeah.
the pyramid so far, we're just in episode 1 here, but the pyramid seems to be the answer to all of our problems and more.
And you can wear them too, because there's.
And you can wear them. Yes. Okay. Well, you guys, we're actually going to get into in our next episode the Great Pyramids that we're aware of, especially Egypt, Chichen Itza, Central and South America, whatever we can get our hands on. And eventually, we haven't done this yet, but eventually we will get into the pyramids in China, but not in the next episode. The next episode you guys have to look forward to. We're definitely going to be getting into some of these places, things that John and his team have remote viewed and other research that we found. So hold on to your hats. This is about to get even crazier. Yeah. All right. Well, great episode, John. Thanks for being here. Yeah, we'll see you guys soon.